is Opticom Safety and Security Podcast, where visionaries speak and solutions resonate.
Hello there, this is the Opticom Safety and Security Podcast, where visionaries speak and solutions resonate. My name is Dennis Omukunde, and I'll be your host for this episode. On set, we are privileged to have Tim Chege, the founder and CEO of Opticom Kenya Limited, a subsidiary of Optimum Group Partnerships UK. On this episode, we shall be talking about safety and technology, pretty much where technology meets safety, the SDG goals, and matters to do with sustainability. First, Tim, welcome on set. We are glad to have you on this episode.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, very well. So let's start. Just to give us a brief overview on the importance of safety, technology, and sustainability in the various sectors, be it safety and security industries.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So safety at workplaces, be it the various areas of work, is of utmost importance. And as we look further down on sustainability goals, it is where predominantly people have to go to work, workers have to go to work and come back home safely. So that takes it as brief as it can, is what our business is doing, how our business is preparing themselves to make sure that where they have workers on site, workers on their environment, they are doing their level best. They're doing all they have to do to make sure that the environment of safety and the culture of safety is pretty much looked after. We'll also, of course, look at what are the areas of like technology and areas that businesses can invest a bit more to make sure that it is easier for them to manage the safety at workplaces. And obviously, how the sustainability comes in is obviously, again, still what is really a requirement in businesses to invest to see how else are they making it sustainable, not just for environment, but also from a business aspect of it. How are we taking care of our workers? How many are they? Are they feeling they can come to work and their morals are up? So, yeah, so that's pretty much the area that we work in and focus on.
And on matters still to do with taking care of the workers, there's a concept of zero harm environment and its connection to achieving sustainability goals. Would you mind taking us through into it? How is this worked? How is this achieved, the zero harm environment within these safety settings?
Yeah, so zero harm is pretty much that there is zero incidences on site. And when you look at it, zero harm as a concept, it's zero. It is exactly what it is. Some of our customers and businesses we work with, we have gone even beyond zero. But discussing zero harm is we have incidents on site. So whether it's a first aid case, whether it's an LTA or a lost time accident, or whether there is an injury, and unfortunately sometimes deaths do happen on sites where people are working. Zero harm is a concept of if a worker come to your site, there will be no incidents on site. So all the mitigation and all risks are calculated, all the hazards are looked at very carefully, and then mitigation factors are put together that there are no risks on site. So what we do as safety managers and safety supervisors on sites and project managers around safety, we do work with the concept of zero harm. So, and most of the cases we do make sure we achieve that. So somebody comes to work, they go home back safely, and there is no harm, there is no injuries, and every workspace is created safely for them.
All right. And if we were to look at the technology element, the safety element, and the SDGs on matters to do with sustainability, how would you be able to correlate the intersection of all these three?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. So we pretty much work with the technology and innovation to see how that can, so to get the intersect into it. So what we call, as I said earlier, what we say beyond zero Beyond zero means that, say, for example, you got workers coming onto a construction site. You have bricklayers, you have electricians, you have plumbers, you have all manner of workers. There's some that actually work on like hot works, which are pretty risk areas. What beyond zero for us means is that we make sure at the gate and at where the workers come through, we have technology such as turnstile, such as something that we can now have to make sure that the access onto site we have a technology that gets them into site. So our parametric, for instance. But so the technology then will say, we will want to know, does that person has training? So in Kenya, there's probably NCA, whereby they've got to have gone through a course to know how to do bricklaying, electrical work. So we need you to be an electrician with a certificate, and you'll have gone through safety training before you step on site. When you turn up on site, that's the only way we can confirm that. So we want to make sure access onto site will only be done by people who are competent in as far as their training is concerned. So if they need to come and go and climb at heights, they will need to have, they need to use harnesses, for instance. They need to have gone through a training to be able to use harnesses. So often, if they come to site and we cannot verify that they have actually been trained or they have gone through a training in terms of safety, then it will be difficult for them. It won't be as easy to manage that. In the United Kingdom, where we do also zero harm and beyond zero and how that technology intersect, they have to have gone through a course called CSES, so Construction Security Scheme. So they need to prove that they have passed a health and safety exam, that they know and understand safety before they come to site. So the connection on it is that they've got to be trained. We need to know that they are competent to step on site. We have technology that takes care of their access in and out of site, and we then know who they are before they come onto site. We also know that there is a number of first aiders on site. There's a number of traffic marshals on site, for instance. So out of every 200, you need at least four traffic marshals or 4 first aiders, So that technology is what helps to make sure that the intersect is really well looked at. Sustainability, of course, then comes in. Where did they come from? How did they travel? Are we locally getting workers to come on site from a local point of view, so that we, for example, they're not coming from 50 kilometers away or 70 kilometers away, but we can hire locally as far as 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. So at least the sustainability goals also get there. So the intersect is pretty well covered through an access control, the technology, and of course the human level to make sure that they have undergone training and they're competent.
All right. And in matters to do with establishing a relationship with these SDG goals, with a specific focus on safety and sustainability efforts, how are you able to achieve that right from the Optimum Group partnerships at the UK and here in Kenya with Opticom Kenya Limited?
Yes, so sustainability goals, as you know, the UN Sustainability Development Goals, and we pretty much focus on sustainability goal 3 and 8. So how the well-being of workers, and of course also the workplace, how it's done. So of course, the United Kingdom is a bit well advanced in terms of how far they've gone within the sustainability goals and how safety works. So United Kingdom, for us as Optimum Group, we have been involved in construction for the last 25 years, and other industries such as also school education, where this also takes place. And in that, we've moved from an area where everything was done manually. There wasn't much to do with technology. And we've seen that where we have covered ourselves to make sure that businesses that we work with, when they look at sustainability, for example, to do the workplace and that the workers must go back home safely. Safety is the most important thing. Actually, most of the construction PQQs and supply chain to get into any construction project, the key core factors they look at is your safety records, how you've worked, how the best you have worked in terms of also your training, your staff, and how your accreditations towards safety. And the investments that companies are making, because data is now becoming the most important thing you need to work with. So the data is, how did you achieve your CO2 emissions, for example? That's towards sustainability. How many LTAs did you have? How many accidents did you have? How many how many people are you employing locally? And so with this, how that has translated is that we have over these years been able to develop into our own technology, which we'll speak a bit later down there. But our technology has been important for us, that we have seen companies even in Kenya. A lot of them are the multinational companies. So Diageo we work with, some inquiries we're getting from Coca-Cola and other companies, yes. But you find that the companies are now focusing more on how to actually meet their SDG goals and to meet their ESG goals, to meet all these goals, because at the end of the day, with the climate factors, the health and safety factors, how our workers are kept safe and how they go back home is part of the most important areas that you would need to show these records, and you need to make sure that that investment is right. So we've seen the transition between the United Kingdom and also Kenya has been quite easy and simple, because in Kenya, for example, there's no much legacy systems to kind of compare with and look at and see how they work. And of course, you got most of these companies which are multinationals who need to meet these goals, need to have to work with this technology, for example, which then works towards the goals of their investments.
All right. And you've talked about LTAs, lost time accidents. How would you explain it in the context of workplace safety and in relation to sustainability?
So the workplace, in terms of lost time accidents, is part of the KPIs and SLAs that we work with, for example, as an organization when we do project management. So LTAs is lost time accidents, which is if you get somebody injured on site and they have to go to hospital, that will be a lost time. Workers on site and the constructions are calculated mainly on hours, the number of hours. So you find we have, for example, as Opticom done, I believe is something like about 3 million hours we have done just the last couple of years. So 3 hours means the number of hours that men and women are working on site. Out of all those 3,000 hours, we have been very proud to say these last 2 years, we have not had a single LTA, lost time. So lost time is when somebody is injured, when there's an accident and they have to be taken off site for medical attention. And that, of course, is against what should be really the SDG goals, which is that workers should be kept safe and that there's a responsibility and accountability of all employers to make sure that doesn't happen. And so that's really, from a sustainable point, is what is it that we are, the UN goals, which sustainable goals by 2030, they need to see a reduction of these safety issues in terms of accidents, in terms of that, there needs to be a reduction. And so companies and are working hard to look at employing safety managers and safety supervisors who will then ensure that these goals are being met.
And speaking of quite a stellar record, what strategies and technologies are you employing to achieve zero lost time accidents? Like, let's say, for what you have achieved in the UK with the legacy structures that they have built, and here in Kenya with the clients that you have been able to work with, what strategies and technologies have you been employing to maintain such a stellar record?
That's a great question. We of course focus a lot on the technology and innovation part. But let me start with it's not only just about the outcome, it's a process. And the process is that we're dealing with human beings. There's a human capital point of view that also needs to be really, really looked after. So training is fundamentally the most important thing to be able to put together, to make sure that the workers on site are really, really fully well trained, that they understand the goals and objectives of any project they're coming into, the workplace, what is it that they're doing. They're actually really, really trained. If it's a machine operator, we then need to see that they have gone through training before they go onto site. How the workers are managed from a point of the responsibility of the company also needs to be very well looked after, so that there is, for example, canteens and food they can come and eat. We also look at things like mental health, which is also a very important way. In the United Kingdom, there's projects that we work with that a mental health canteen or somewhere where they can actually even look at finances that they need to borrow, they need to be looked after, is right before they get onto the site. So that gives them an ability to come into site and they are able to concentrate. They are able to have the great minds to work. There is also areas that they can speak about their own issues. So they could be suicidal. There could be anything like that goes on. So we try and focus a lot on how is the mental health, how is the training of the worker that comes onto site. And that's very, very important, even before we talk about technology. So, but technology is important. As I said earlier, where do we make sure we measure the work? So we need to know that, for example, somebody comes in and they breach a safety record, a safety area, they will be given a yellow card. If they don't do it well, they'll be given a red card and they will not be allowed on site. Our systems also show that if they even go to another site, the same person cannot be allowed on site. So technology bit is about now, how do we keep the records? How do we keep the data? How do we even look at the good records of how they are working well? So we then look at if they're doing a good job, so we call them SORs. And if they're doing a good job, we also make sure that they're rewarded for it. So it's a mixture of not just being punitive, not only just of course being policing the site, but also making sure that they can be rewarded for the good works that they do. They can be more so a consultative coaching approach to safety rather than the policing approach to safety. So all this work into the human element of it, but the technology part is the ability to stop people at the gate if they haven't got the right records. If they haven't got the right training, they will not come onto site, and the turnstiles or the access control can be able to stop that. And of course, take records of all these other things, including sustainability.
All right. And with case examples, how have you been able to successfully implement zero harm initiatives right from the UK, where we have the Optimum Group partnerships, Opticom Kenya, here in Kenya we have Opticom, and by extension now Optisafe that deals with matters to do with HSE. How have you been able to achieve this zero harm initiative successfully?
Yeah, so it's introducing where a record, the investment of having the right technology. So the right technology, we have our own Askari Smart Solutions. So Askari Smart Solutions have been something we're quite proud of, that ideally when we have a setup where we have a 3-layered setup with an access control or a door somewhere where we can control how people come in and out. We have face readers. So during COVID, we were very successful, in fact, because we introduced face recognition, face recs, so that really there wasn't any way of, fingerprint for obvious reasons. So the face recs is things we introduced with our technology partners or manufacturers, and they also did a lot. So how they worked as intercom, how they worked as time and attendance, and also how they would also be able to capture these records, as I was saying, which are very important. Data is extremely crucial, how you capture the data. So, of course, also the biometric and face recs are very secure. So that's a very strong component. And then being able to taking the records once the people are on site. We have cameras that we also install, and these cameras are also pretty good in terms of areas of AI, so we'd be able to capture that somebody's not wearing a mask. So, for example, during COVID, so that would also be areas where technology has simplified and filtered different areas. So you can imagine a site that has about 700 people. Some of them have about 1,000 plus. You need systems that can see this in one go, filter it, and give it a quick way how that works. So on that, and as I said, combined with the records that get inputted on site now, or how they're done is they do it through cloud. So it makes it easy and makes it quicker. Then we have found that it is easier for the efficiencies of taking in and inducting. So inductions are very important on site. So inducting as many people as you can, taking them in, coming in and going through face recognitions, coming onto site. The records are then processed, and we can now follow through into other areas of sustainability. That works well. In terms of looking at how does that works in Kenya, it's simple. That it's just a case of technology and the same AIs and the same technologies being deployed to site. And then we've gone through some bits of little challenges in Kenya. For example, we don't have postcodes. There wasn't any way of measuring distance very well for the sustainability and the CO2 calculations, but we've gone around it, got quite good, smart guys who work for us. So at least we've been able to go around it. So it's been just very little challenges in terms of that. But that's the main one, really. How do we calculate distances? But then from that point of view, it takes on the same, takes on the same principles. Is the person trained? Can we have the ID? Do we know who the person is? Have they got training? And when they come onto site, can we allow them to site access and then egress? And whilst they're on site, how many hours have they worked? And how do we calculate all of that? And how do we know that they're working safely? And how do we have enough first aiders on site? And so we make sure the system can immediately give us the records that we want. So that has worked pretty well.
All right. And in the spirit of achieving sustainability, you've mentioned Askari. What is the concept behind Askari and the smart solutions it's associated with, and its role in the sustainability efforts?
So Askari, yes. So Askari is a brand within the Optiwork group of companies. So it's a brand where our technology sits. Most of the technology sits there. So Askari, we have developed Askari since 2005, and there's different layers of Askari. For example, visitor management systems, workforce management systems, and of course now from a smart construction solution, it is just one that what we have done is now take on particularly construction and industrial and warehouses and where there is workers involved. And as I said earlier, it's the concept where how do we capture the people that go to site? So where do we use hardware? We start with hardware, access controls and turnstiles, and any way to manage how people walk in and out of site. How do you manage that? How do we then manage that technology of biometric, how we read people, whether it's a fingerprint, and how do we manage that? But the big thing here is about the platform. So Askari is the platform that now records all of this information. So we've gone further by now, especially since COVID, most of things were done virtually. So now Askari has the ability to have, say, 1,000 workers. We now send information to them. They take the pictures, photos via phone or any device. That is then they fill in the induction form of what they need to do. So there is also training. As I said earlier, they need to be trained and inducted on this particular project. And in terms of the induction is just to do with the safety, mainly about the safety. So they will do a course. They will pass the course before they step on site. It is very specific to that project. Once they do that, we then take their records, they come and they upload them onto the cloud. And as they come onto the cloud, when they turn up on site, they just need to show their face. The records are matched. They are allowed to come into site. They will, of course, do another induction and then step onto site. What that does is that somebody sitting in HQ of that construction company or that business can be able to see all the records of let's say they've got 3,000 workers across, if it's Nairobi, if it's across England, they can see up to 50, 100 sites in one dashboard. And that dashboard will be able to tell them that we have enough first aiders, we have enough traffic marshals, we have enough project managers to manage the project, and then we have 1,000 man hours going on. We have 100 people on a site. So on a dashboard, they can see real time what is going on onto their side. They can also now see the amount of CO2 emissions that are going on. So from a sustainability point, they can be able to see that. They can be able to use these data for their timesheets, how they pay their workers, how they pay everyone on site, and so many more wonderful areas of solution. So it is primarily a safety solution where we take the records and we make sure we manage people who are coming in and out of site. We are managing, local labor, so we're making sure the laborers on site. We have a client in Kenya who wanted to make sure that they are actually employing Kenyans, right? Or they are actually employing Kenyans within the contracts that they had with this company, the company outside Kenya. So the only way they found that they could do that is to use this system, because it could then, of course, through biometric, give him the accurate numbers of Kenyans. So that is one of the things that Askari is doing. So we are very proud of it. Over the years, we have gone and improved it, and we are quite proud that the uptake of it in Kenya is been quite great in terms of what we've been able to achieve. So yeah, Askari. Yeah, it's a brilliant concept. One of the proud technology that we have looked at, and so we're proud of it.
All right. And speaking of such an integrated solution, what are some of the benefits and challenges that are associated with implementing this kind of a cloud-based safety and sustainability solution?
The first ones we found was some of the technology bits. Let's say from England point of view, we struggle a bit with when it's very cold, when it's -5, or that the systems wouldn't take the heat of the face. So of course, COVID was the most important thing at that time. So when we look at that there is a camera, there is a detector heat that points to the face to see if you're a thermal detector to see if you're above 38 degrees, something like that, which will then put you on the side in case you had COVID. That was some challenges. So challenging was more the technology. Later, we found different ways to go around it and get the technology right. So technology, as I said in Kenya, how do you measure distances when you're calculating CO2? So, it's calculated by, you're using a car called Toyota Prius, which is moving 10 kilometers to work and 10 kilometers back home. So we calculate the CO2s that way. But when you look at they're in a matatu, or they're in this, or they're in, we don't know, they're coming from an area where we haven't got a pin to calculate the distance. Those used to be just a few challenges to get it in line with what we've done. But we've since been able to go beyond that. With the uptake of it, what we have done before is to make it easy to manage it. So from where we are putting the owners back to the companies that are coming onto site to register their people and take responsibility, it was something that we found as a challenge, is how people onboard onto the technology, because it's not something they are used to. But we found ways to get them to kind of to onboard back onto the technology. But the challenges, there have been very few. It's just the human uptake of it, and of course the technology. But since then, I think it's pretty smooth how it works.
Right. And speaking of which, how is it contributing to creating a safer working environment while reducing environmental impact?
Yeah. So when you put the owners back to the workers and their directors of the businesses to say that safety is a responsibility of all. So the safety means that our subcontractors will come to site, or the contractor who's on site, or the managing directors of these companies must then go through a lot of this training, as I mentioned earlier, training and being able to know that they have responsibility. The Safety Acts and Safety at Work Acts in UK and also in Kenya are very, very strict and very, very strict, especially in the UK. I'll give an example where years ago, a Metropolitan police officer was running on a rooftop and fell and died. They actually the head of Metropolitan Police was charged with manslaughter. So you can imagine a Metropolitan Police with all those officers, more than 30,000 officers, and then he takes responsibility. So it's about who takes responsibility of safety. It's got to be the directors and the managing directors, and they must understand that the responsibility of safety must lie on them. Also, the people who come onto site, that they also have a responsibility for their own safety. So it doesn't just stop at the technology, it stops at the inductions and how people inducted on site before they come onto site. They need to know that they cannot walk, the walk paths where they walk are clear, that they don't come and meet up with forklifts, and they don't step in there. They must wear the high vis, they must wear their safety boots, and the PPE is a must. We must check things like harnesses to make sure that they are all correct and to make sure that they're all tested. Anything about scaffolding and going up in ladders and going up at heights is really well tested. Things like hot wax, working with hot wax, and all the wax that are on site are very, very important that they're checked. What I'm trying to say, Dennis, is that yes, there is the technology that measures, takes the data, make sure that we know, team is going to site as an electrician. We make sure that he is a trained electrician, and therefore he understands what is neutral, what is, the simplicity of electrical knowledge is a must that they understand, because we then have this person going on to site and they are doing a job when they haven't got training on electricals, and guess what? There could be an accident. So we must make sure that we go beyond zero by being very, very strict on this training. And then, of course, beyond them going into the gates or the workplace where they've been now checked, they have been verified. They can prove that their current training records are current, right? And they know what they're doing, and they've been onboarded, and they are onboarded. And then we have the safety supervisors who then make sure that they're doing a great job. So it's a combination of all three, and of course plenty more. So are they trained? Have they been have their managing directors or their directors really taken seriously the issue of safety, that they don't have they don't just have a huge turnover of workers who haven't been told about it. So they need to know that the responsibility is there's an injury on site, that they take responsibility. And then this is where we come in. So where we now provide technology that is then being able to now take this data, and of course, being able to manage people in and out from the access point, and then provide, the good, accurate, real-time information to the companies, the construction companies, or any other ones that use our services.
All right. And in closing, we've been talking about safety and technology, where technology meets safety, SDG goals, and matters to do with sustainability. We have talked about the intersection of all this. How does it correlate? Zero lost time accidents, and how Opticom and the Optimum Group Partnerships group of companies is achieving sustainability through the Askari Smart Solution. Tim, give us your closing remarks.
Yeah. So with sustainability and safety is now an essential matrix for capital markets, investors, and also everyone is increasingly focusing on now climate change and all areas of SDG goals 8, SDG goals 3. And so for businesses that are actually looking to be seen better, to be able to stand out more, this is an area that they need to focus on a lot more. Of course, SDG goals and the numbers and the data must be provided, must be produced for you to be measured accurately. So the matrices that have there is what we are proud of with our Askari Smart solution, that we can be able to provide this data, and it's accurate data, real-time data that can be used for how you find yourself as a business owner. You can be able to track, you can be able to make sure you have efficiencies at your workplace. You can be able to do cost cuts and cost savings, and all this that can take place using the right technology and solutions. One other thing I'm proud to say is that it isn't as expensive as people would think. We, of course, as a company, hire this out and provide this as a service. So where you're getting the technology itself as a service, you're also finding our project management solutions. Project management services. So where we can be able to provide supervisors who can make sure that you're meeting your goals. So that's something we have done for 25 years. We are proud that we're working currently in Rwanda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya with companies such as Diageo, Mastercard, Unilever, Turner & Townsend, so Safaricom. So these companies that have taken on services as that, and of course we are doing so, and companies are doing so because we're able to meet the objectives of what they're looking for and be able to make them focus on what they do best, which is construction or managing schools or managing warehouses, industrial. We help you to just focus more on that and save you time.
All right. There you have it. Let's explore further. Let's take further action towards creating a safer and more sustainable workplaces. On set, we've been having Tim Chege, the founder and CEO of Opticom Kenya Limited, a subsidiary of Optimum Group Partnerships UK, and I have been your host, Dennis Omukunde. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your listening.